Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday, August 15th, 2024. It's about 11:25 a.m. local time here in California. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.8. South America, and also some further earthquake activity here in California with a 1.3. Now, we did see some larger movement out here south of Los Angeles area just a short time ago, where a 3.9 earthquake struck around the Lake Elsinore area. Sits a little ways south here of Los Angeles, up in the mountain ranges. It was felt broadly over the area. Let's go ahead and show you guys the Did You Feel It reports here. Anywhere from San Diego up north to the Santa Clarita area, feeling some shaking on this Thursday. Goodness. This is just an overall trend here of uptick in earthquake activity across Southern California. And it has caught a lot of attention out here. Not only in the YouTube community, but also national news out here, picking up on all the elevated earthquake activity out here recently in Southern California specifically. And it's not only in just one location. That'd be a little different, right? We just seen continued activity in one certain location. This is an overall regional stress pattern going on out here against Southern California in terms of, well, obviously increased earthquake activity, and today no exception there with that 3.9 coming in on the Elsinore fault, about 5 miles there deep, directly on this segment. Now, so far we've seen a little bit of earthquake aftershock sequences here, but surprisingly only 3. It's a little odd to see only a minimal amount of earthquake activity aftershock sequences following a 3.9. So, there's always some concern here that we're looking at, painting a little bit bigger picture of more larger magnitude out here soon. Could potentially be soon here with all the increasing activity we've witnessed here. Now, this is not just, fear mongering, or it's not fear mongering. It's information here that's being sent out here to everyone that lives out here in Southern California to be prepared for some potentially larger scale activity. Dr. Lucy Jones here was asked a couple days ago on the news channel whether all this activity is, relieving strain and preventing the big one from happening out here. And goodness, her face that she made when she was asked that question was telltale, to say the least. She said, no, this does not prevent any release of strain out here. If anything, it's increasing the likelihood of seeing something larger in this region. Go check it out. It's all over the place. And she knows what she's talking about. But when she was asked that question there, goodness, her face was like, you'll have to watch it yourself to see. I did post it there on Facebook and also the X account on my Earthmaster page. So go check that out. I'm not going to post it here on YouTube, though. So let's see here. Obviously, now we got a new area of earthquake activity along the Elsinore fault. This comes after days of elevated earthquake activity, Bakersfield area, Ridgecrest area, Los Angeles area on the Puente Hills fault, a little separate swarm down here west of Salton Sea on the San Jacinto fault zone. Goodness, it's filling in, and we got to watch the San Andreas fault here too, along with many other fault systems out here, for some larger movement. That's just, it's not fear tactics. That is the facts here. We're noticing a big uptick in earthquake activity out here compared to years past. And it's something that, could be pointing us towards a much larger quake here in the region soon. So it's, the best thing to do is be prepared. I keep track of all these earthquakes daily, and, California has been on the quiet side in terms of decent earthquake activity here recently, and for it sitting on a major plate boundary, I'm surprised we haven't seen something sooner in terms of larger scale movement. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this regional area out here, and that includes the plate boundary. The plate boundary itself really hasn't seen a whole lot of movement on it. Nothing. No 4s, no 5s, no 3s, just occasional smaller microquakes directly on the plate boundary. But it's all these little areas here that are seeing increasing earthquake activity around it is, it's painting a picture out here, maybe seeing something bigger It could be on any one of these faults out here soon. And I think this will continue. This isn't just a one-day thing, as we've seen here in the last 10 days or so. Things have been on the uptick. There's a 2.5 map and above for the last 7 days. I would have to go last 30 days out here to show the activity in Bakersfield. That's still a lot of earthquake activity here. Let me get a total tally. We're at 625 earthquakes since the 5.2 earthquake. About when was that? That was on the 6th of August. So we're looking at about 9 days ago, right? Excuse me. About 9 days ago. And there was only a handful, like maybe 1, 2, 5 of them, it looks like, prior to the 5.2. So all these 600 and something earthquakes out here, that's a lot of movement. And this region's seen the most aftershock sequence so far. A bunch going on over here around Ridgecrest as well. This is where the 6.9 and 7.1 struck back in 2019. Los Angeles area where the 4.4 struck. A handful of aftershock sequences there following a 4.4 on the Puente Hills fault, but there's really not a lot. I mean, I would expect a little bit more, and we really haven't seen, we've seen 1.5 today at about 7 o'clock this morning. So there's still areas of concern across the entire area out here for larger movement. There's that little swarm going on down here across the Salton City area. You know, it's painting a bigger picture of regional stress, and it seems as though the strain is just limited here to Southern California. Not a whole lot up north here, a little bit around the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault, branching off here into a couple of the Bay Area faults. But really, if you look at Northern California here, we've been quiet for a little while. All the strain is getting hung up down here across this area of the plate boundary and inland. We even seen earthquake activity in, outside of Las Vegas here a night or so ago. Further stress and strain building inland here with a more recent 3.3 in Utah just about an hour ago. So as strain builds up and the pressure increases out here, expect more earthquakes. And as we're seeing more earthquake activity, there's a more likelihood that we'll see something larger take place during this elevated earthquake activity. Remember, these little quakes do not relieve strain. They do not prevent the big one from happening. And I've kept to that myself. It's a statement I've made numerous times throughout many videos. And world-renowned seismologist there, Dr. Lucy Jones, I think everyone knows who she is, the face of the earthquake community, said it herself. So don't believe me? Go check it out. All right, let's see here. I'm going to bring up the 2.5. Okay, so we got that. That's a 3.9, followed up by a couple smaller aftershocks here. Just a little weird. There's no more aftershock sequences coming in following that quake. Yeah, that's a little sketchy, to say the least. So keep an eye on this entire region down here. Mainly smaller microquake activity elsewhere, in these little quakes here, but still, it's an overall pattern of a big uptick out here. So continue to keep an eye there on Southern California. As I mentioned, Northern California, not so much. Cascadia subduction zone. We had a decent tremor map, or a decent tremor count last night. A little bit of elevated tremor being kicked up into the Washington and Northern California area. That's adding strain and stress up here against the Cascadia subduction zone. These are not earthquakes, but tremors that occur down deep into the subduction zone level itself, below the locked area. So as we're seeing that strain increase, we're getting a little bit of tremor counts occurring downstream. And, that's got to be adding some big-time steam up here for stress as well across the Cascadia. And that area, is the most dangerous fault system out here in terms of magnitude potential. No other fault system out here has the potential to produce a 9.0, maybe even greater than the Cascadia subduction zone. And that's been 324 years since the last major rupture out here, full rupture. This area can see partial ruptures as well, with it up to a 8.4, 8.5 here at the southern end. And I'm leaning more towards that we're going to see a partial rupture just due to all the elevated tremor activity here recently in the southern end and the little odd earthquakes that are occurring up along the Cascadia subduction zone itself. You can see this trail of activity leading up here towards the locked area. A couple various areas out here, as opposed to a full rupture where a 9.0 or greater would take place. If anything, I think we'll see a partial rupture out here before we see a full rupture. I mean, look at that, all the activity there on the Cascadia, the recent activity out here as well, adding further strain at the southern end. Further out and about, Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there, but I do want to double check here real quick. I need to add them back onto my my bookmark here real quick. Stand by. I took them off because there was some weird stuff going on. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. I'll add these guys back onto my bookmark list here. Earthquake activity, not a whole lot going on here at Yellowstone National Park, as you can see here. Some wind events from late afternoon yesterday, maybe some thunderstorms in there as well. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity here at Yellowstone. Awfully quiet, but it's a super volcano, and that's what you want. You want it to be quiet. Some movement out in Oklahoma and Texas. The oil fields out here. The New Madrid seismic zone. Couple smaller quakes out here in the Tiptonville, Tennessee area. Looks like a 1.5 and a 1.8. Nothing big. Most of the activity and strain out here, it's pretty notable. You can pretty much draw somewhat of a triangle. Or maybe not a full triangle, but an arrow in this area. Worldwide activity. Let's see what we got for Hawaii. The Kilauea volcano here, still seeing some movement. Stretching and migrating out here to the lower east rift zone. Going to have to watch that because this is getting a little bit elevated here. Let me see what we have here for the latest map here in terms of deformation data at Kilauea volcano. There's a little spike in some elevated earthquake activity last night. Since then, we've leveled out. This area can only see a certain amount of pressurization from the magma storage below before things take place, whether it's an eruptive event or a displacement of all that magma. So we've leveled off here since last night, but we're still overall on the uptick in terms of inflation. Here is the past month of inflation here. There's the large displacement of magma from the summit off to the upper east rift zone. That's why we lost so much volume here back in the end of July. That has been steadily recharging here, almost up to the previous level. Actually, it looks like we are at the previous level seen prior to that displacement. So things are going to take place here pretty soon. Whether it's going to be a displacement of magma or an eruptive event out here. Here's some of the earthquake activity in the past 12 hours. Yeah, there's probably a handful more than what's being reported from the USGS on their earthquake catalog book. Some 2s and 3s out there. These are going to be the 3 magnitudes, the larger quakes. But still somewhat elevated out here, and it's stretching southeastward. So, it could be leaning towards maybe a migration pattern further out and about. Maybe out where we've seen the 2018 eruption. Who knows? Typical activity out here across the Pahala area. Some deeper regions down there in the plumbing system of the magma transport system there. So getting some elevated activity down below as well. Just a matter of time here before we see activity stir up. Let's see on the earthquake 3D globe what we got. Some further activity escalating around Taiwan. This is going to be this area right here where we've seen, you guys remember that big time swarm that was going on here? We've seen a bunch of 4s, a bunch of 5s, a bunch of 6s, and then it just stopped. This was a couple months back. Maybe it's been a few months back, like 4 months or so ago. This area is starting to swarm again a little bit with a 5.4 and a couple other 4s, and maybe some other smaller quake mixed in there as well. So keep an eye on that. That obviously a sign of increasing pressure out here against the Filipino plate. There's one more earthquake last night near that subduction zone that the Japanese government put out a warning for in terms of a megaquake potential. That's going to be the subduction zone right here, capable of producing an upper 8 magnitude earthquake here, and they're a little concerned about it due to the increase in earthquake activity that we've seen here over a week ago now with that 7-pointer that struck in that area. So something big's about ready to brew here. I think California is on key to seeing some bigger quake activity until we see somewhat of a major earthquake out here across the western Pacific. Now, the reason why I say that, and it's been noted as well in certain articles, is that during the 9.1 earthquake there in Japan back in 2011, you guys remember that big earthquake there that created that tsunami? Well, that relieved strain out here for California for a few years. And I think prior to that, we were seeing some elevated earthquake activity as well. And that, pretty much came to a halt following that big landmass here, shifting of the plate here to the west with that big 9-pointer back in 2011. That relieved the strain. So we got a whole bunch of elevated earthquake activity out here in California right now. And I think that's going to continue until we see something major happen where it could relieve some strain out against this area. It's either going to be a big earthquake out here in Southern Cal, or we're going to see something big take place here across the western Pacific. And that could include anywhere, the Kuril-Kamchatka, Japan Trench, down throughout this area. You got to remember, when you adjust one portion of the plate in a significant, tremendous value, that can have, it can have adverse effects thousands of miles away here across the eastern Pacific. So things could get relieved if we see a bigger quake out here in the western Pacific. It's just, I still got to find that article. They put out, that's a statement that due to the shifting of the land out here, how much it moved, that it relieved strain out here for California. And we really, it was a little quiet following that big earthquake activity in 2011 up until about 2019 when we seen the Ridgecrest earthquake activity. So we'll continue to keep an eye on all these patterns and whatnot that has taken place here recently. A couple earthquakes here, Papua New Guinea area, looks like from today and last night. A couple 5 stirring up here, 5.0 and a 5.3. Further down south here, getting mainly shallow adjustment right now. We did have a deep earthquake there, 4.5 in the Tonga Trench yesterday, but most of the activity since then has been some shallow adjustments. New Zealand, oh goodness, what's going on there? It looks like they're filling in with some 4s. Let's go see what's going on there across the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what's popping here. Now this is, let's see here, a couple 2s in the last hour or so, some 2.9s, couple 1s. Where's those 4s that are taking place here? At least on the map, they look like they're from there yesterday. Not, well, let me see here. It's a little weird. 2.4, 2.6, 2.8. That's really weird. Let me go back here to week and above. 3.8, maybe that's what it was. EMSC looks like they're reporting that as a 4-pointer. And there should be some further activity down south here. 3.9 2 days ago. But what in the world's going on here? That's a couple days ago. Huh. If there was 4-pointers out here, we'll see them on the seismographs. There's one. It looks like there was 2. As you get down on the map that goes closer to the South Island area, there's what looks like a 4-pointer showing up on this map, and the other 4-pointer as you go north is going to be North Island, a little bit more positioned earlier than that recent 4-pointer down south here. So some adjustment taking place out here across the New Zealand area. Those are the only 2 quakes that I see, but similar to California, goodness, there's a lot of stress built up here in various areas of New Zealand, and well overdue for certain large earthquake potential out here. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that with some 4s popping up in the mix there. They've seen a lot of 3s here recently, some deeper activity under the North Island area, but it looks like we're starting to further migrate southward there, so we'll keep an eye on that region as well. Just definitely seen some uptick in earthquake activity here recently in various areas that have been quiet. The rest of the globe here, typical movement across the Middle American Trench, South America area as well. Nothing going on in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean area. A little bit quieter today. There's some older rings on the globe, the red color rings indicating older movement from yesterday. A handful of newer quakes around the region, but mostly 2s. I want to go check out Iceland here real quick because this is an area that is getting quite ready for the next eruption here. Across the Svartsengi area here, just north of Grindavik, although we have been noting a little bit of earthquake activity very close here to that little town. Here's the all microquake movement as well. Past 12 hours, got about 51 earthquakes, a little bit less than what we've seen last night. Mainly within this area and a little bit up around the craters area where we've seen the last eruptions take place. Blue Lagoon over here, the tourist attraction, and the Svartsengi power plant right next door. So nothing changed there, it looks like, in terms of earthquake multitude counts. If anything, a little bit less, but let's see. This update was put out a couple days ago, and it still just shows that things are getting elevated with over 20 million cubic meters of magma. Now that surpasses the couple previous levels of magma accumulation that led up to previous eruptions. So we should see something take place here now, soon, very soon. But right now, looking at the earthquake map that I just showed you guys, there's no sign of an imminent eruption, but things are, they're pretty well swollen down below there. 20 million cubic meters of magma under the Svartsengi area. Things should take place here soon enough. Let me see where that 3-pointer was in Utah, near Hilldale, 5 miles deep. Kind of out there in the middle of nowhere land. Little odd spot as well. A few folks reported feeling that earthquake. You know what I want to do real quick? I want to see what that 3.9 came in as. Came in as. I caught that one. Came in as. What? What kind of new word is that? 3.9. That was this morning on the Elsinore Fault, and it was felt broadly over the area. Now they went with. Let's see here. They went with a low reporting station here. An error rate of 0.155. Which is very minimal compared to the other stations here. Got about 330 stations reporting various magnitudes here of, quite a few 3s in there. Now this looks more realistic though in terms of other previous quakes where it looked like the quake level was higher, but they went with a lower magnitude in terms of the final report. This looks more realistic. There's a couple 4s in here. But that's going to account for the error rate. But I'm seeing a lot more lower grade 3s than I do up, higher magnitudes here. So more than likely, that's going to be the correct magnitude, 3.9. And like I say, only 3 earthquakes, aftershock sequences. The latest or the largest one's going to be that 3.0 that occurred literally about a minute later. So it's just... it's a good time, folks, to be on guard out here across California. There's a lot going on out here, and there's so much that can take place out here. So much time has passed that has allowed enough strain on various faults out here to produce some large, damaging earthquakes. That's the facts. It's not like we've seen, a big earthquake here on the San Andreas Fault 100 years ago, and we got a couple more 100 years ago. We got a couple 100 more years to go before we see another big one. No, that's not the case. We got, a future in Southern California of some large, damaging earthquakes, not only on the San Andreas Fault, but as the Puente Hills thrust fault has made the news recently. There's that possibility of seeing up to a 7.5. That's been noted. I'm still waiting on a call back here from Dr. Lucy Jones on when the last one was. They came up with an estimate that there was 4 major ruptures here in the last 11,000 years, averaging out to about 2,750 years on average. If they came up with that number, they most certainly know when the last one was. So when was that? Was that 2,000 something years ago? Means that we're getting close to the big one here now along the Puente Hills thrust fault. Maybe that's, I don't know. I haven't found the answer when the last one was. We know when the last one was, on the San Andreas Fault over 300 years ago on the southern segment here. But how'd they come up with that number in this area and not know when the last one was? You got to have somewhat of an average number there for when the last one was. So we'll continue to wait for Dr. Lucy Jones here, or any other maybe known seismologists that can answer that question, because I can't find it. Can't find out any information on it. Let's see here. Space weather activity real quick. Cover this, see if we got anything. Doesn't look like anything popped up here overnight in terms of larger flare potential. There's the X flare from yesterday, Earth directed, but it produced a very weak CME, so we're not expecting anything major for the auroras here over the next few nights. We still have somewhat of an elevated flare threat at 20% chance for an X flare, M flare at 65, 99% chance for C flare activity. Let's see what we got here today. We've got this ginormous sunspot here that's quite dynamic. And this is the area that produced the X flare here recently, yesterday. It is still in position to produce some geo-effective CME activity if it ever gets going again. So we'll continue to watch this region here for some further large flare activity and ultimately some CMEs. All other areas out here look fairly stable. We're losing our active region out here on the western limb. So right now, main area of interest is going to be right here. Center disk. That's going to be 3784, a very well-defined sunspot, to say the least. Look at that. All right, Storm Prediction Center today, far as severe weather goes, got a little slight risk here across various states out in the Midwest. It looks like a little tornado potential out there as well for your Thursday. Got areas around Chicago, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, Madison, Wisconsin. These areas, heads up, might see some rotating water vapor out there today, a little bit of wind, and some hail threats during these thunderstorms, so just stay alert. Seismograph stations out there look pretty quiet for now. A couple of them are offline, but they should pop up here soon. We'll continue to watch things and keep an eye on various areas. Hold on a second here. Okay, the plate boundary stations are offline, so I'll keep an eye on that. If it doesn't fix itself here soon, then I'll just reset this and bring them back up. But a couple of them there in California. Barrett Station is down around San Diego. The Cal State Bakersfield Station, obviously near Bakersfield, and many of these seismographs will pick up any movement there in Southern California, which shows calm conditions right now. But the overall increasing threat remains out here across California, Southern California in general, and it's good to be on guard, folks. Okay, as we've seen here over the last 10 days, numerous areas showing elevated earthquake activity, and in fact this year we've seen more 3s and 4s than what we've seen since excluding the Ridgecrest activity there. That was confined to aftershock sequence. I think since 89 is what Lucy Jones stated. We'll have to double check that number ourselves, but obviously, we look at these maps every single day, and no doubt 2024 and most recently in the last couple weeks have been elevated in terms of that larger earthquake count. Now 3s and 4s, right? Not a big earthquake, but the more 3s and 4s you have, the more likelihood of seeing a larger event take place out here. So just stay safe. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later for the member drawing. We're going to hold that at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Right now, it's just coming up on noon here in California. So at about 3 p.m., That's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll do the member drawing. Looks like we gained a few members out there. Let's see here. Got about 9 new members here in just the live stream alone. So they'll be added into the member drawing bowl today. I just got to figure out where I put it again. I've been wanting to get me a new fish bowl so I can add them all into it, but I think I'm going to have to use a little pumpkin again or some bowl. I don't know. I keep forgetting when I go over to Walmart to pick up a fish bowl. Maybe I'll do that first. I don't know. I like using something that looks nice. I've been using the kids' trick-or-treat pumpkin basket from last year to put the member drawings in there, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, we'll be here at 3 o'clock this afternoon for the member drawing, where we will give away either a $50 Visa MasterCard of your choice or gift card, or if you want a geology mining kit, that's also a option as well. Pretty cool if you're a rock hound like me. Or if you want an Earthmaster t-shirt, we have various t-shirts and designs, sizes, and colors at a couple different merchandise stores. So I could give you the links to those, and you can browse through those articles of clothing that maybe you see one that you like, and then just let me know. Pretty easy. Either way, we'll do that at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll pick out a lucky winner. Have a good one, folks. We'll see you guys back out here. I'll be watching things out here on this end. And just stay safe out there in Southern California. We'll continue to keep an eye there on some larger scale movement.